Little Red Inside the Hood. Once upon a time there lived a young woman named Susie, along with her mother Marilyn. Together they lived in a cute little cottage in a small village called Seriesville that was surrounded by a forest. Though everything seems to be going quite lovely in this corner of the forest, everything is not so pleasant for Susie and her mother. Marilyn stumbled out of the pub on the east side of town where she frequents. She was headed home, but beforehand she stopped by to see a local alchemist, Aloysius, to get herself a vial of milk of the poppy. Milk of the poppy was a bit of a thing for Miss Marilyn. While Marilyn was stumbling home, she overheard a conversation. "That little Red Riding Hood sure can be all over the place," a woman's voice exclaims. "She sure can," answered a man who Marilyn believes is Susie's boss, Ernest, the butcher. "Just yesterday I almost had to fire her for screaming at me, and then throwing a slab of ribs at the wall," he continues, "and this isn't the first time she's just gone off like that." Both parties sigh, and Marilyn had heard enough. She heads straight home, angry. You see, Little Red Riding Hood was Susie's nickname because of a red riding shawl that her grandmother had made, and she wore it nearly every day. Marilyn bursts in the door and shouts, "Susie, get in here now!" "Oh, God, what is it?" cries Susie in a shaking voice. "Why must you always embarrass me? What is wrong with you? Why are you this way?" scolds Marilyn. What did I do this time, Mom?" snaps Susie with attitude. "I overheard Ernest telling someone that you threw a rack of ribs and screamed at him. How dare you?" "Oh my God, it wasn't even like that. He's just overreacting. Oh God, do you think he's gonna fire me?" Susie says as she starts to sob with her hand into her hands, revealing a few not so old scars on her wrists. "God, Red, why must you be so dramatic?" Marilyn says in disgust as she takes a sip from her vial and washes it down with a swig of mead from her favorite horn. "I swear you are so bipolar." And just like that, Susie went off again. "Oh God, you're gonna leave me, just like Dad. I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna Susie shouts and flips the table. Marilyn grabs her and gives her a sip of mead. "You need to quit it now," and tells her that her grandmother is sick and that she should bring over some stuff to make her feel better in a basket, and then that she should stop and get a vial of milk of the poppy as well. Susie perks up a bit and makes her way into town and onward to the north side of the village where her grandmother lives. On the way, she stops to see Aloysius, the alchemist, to get another vial of milk of the poppy. When she arrives, Aloysius says, "Hello, I hope all is well," but nothing more is said for fear of setting her off. "Thank you, sir," she giggles. "I'm off to see my grandma and to make her feel better." "Have a good day," Aloysius says as he hands her the medicine. "You too," Susie smiles as she skips out of the store and towards the north side of town. Susie's grandma lived quite a way into the forest, for she liked her solitude, and Susie did not mind the walk, and she was about the only one that ever went out there. She enjoyed the forest and all of the scurrying creatures. However, she would also come out here to drink mead and have flings with the local townsmen. She had also attempted to hang herself, but under fortuitous circumstances, a local monk talked her out of it. She told the monk her life story and was glad that he had saved her. The monk told her that he bet that she had a disorder called borderline personality disorder that he had read about once in a book. Susie had always shrugged it off, telling herself that she was fine and that nothing was wrong with her. But deep down inside, she knew she felt hollow, as if nothing was really what it was supposed to be, or that she never knew where she was going in life. The truth was she was scared. Scared of losing her mom, scared of losing her home, her job, and most of all, she was afraid of losing her grandma, who was always sick. Her thoughts put her into a whirlwind again, and she began to cry. Her cries were overheard by the big bad wolf named John Leroy, who was out on his afternoon hunt. When he approached Susie, he came with a calming demeanor and voice and said, "Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. What's good?" Susie gasped. "Leave me alone, John Henry." "Oh, don't worry. I only wish to help you, my dear." "Oh, I am off to see my grandma. She's sick," Susie explains. "Oh, no. Would you like me to walk with you for safety?" "No, sir. I think I can manage it." Knowing that her grandmother was by herself and that a woodman lived by if there was any need. John Leroy tips his hat and says, "Suit yourself, Red," and he runs back into the forest to try to beat Susie to the cabin. When the wolf arrives at the cabin, he finds her grandmother in bed and sleeping. He approaches the bedside and swallows her down in one gulp. He then hears a twig break, and he knows that Little Red Riding Hood must be approaching. So he throws on one of Grandma's nightgowns and hops into bed. With a light and cordial knock, Susie opens the door of the cabin and finds her grandma in bed. "Hello, Grandma. I have come to see you and bring you some goodies to help you make you feel better." "Aren't I great? Don't you love me?" Susie blurts out. "Oh, yes. Oh, yes, my dear. Of course. Come closer and show me what you have brought." As Susie is laying out the things on the foot of the bed, she looks up and notices that her grandma looks a bit funny. "What big eyes you have, Grandma!" Susie exclaims. "All the better to see you with, darling," grins the wolf. "Oh, here's your milk of the She stops mid-sentence. What big ears you have also. All the better to hear you with, dearie. And what big teeth you have too, Grandma," Susie says with a bit of concern in her voice. "All the better to eat you with." The wolf growls as he throws the blanket off and swallows Susie whole. It all happened so quickly that Susie was barely able to let out a scream, but that scream was heard by the woodsman Paul, who lived nearby. He came rushing up with his axe. When he arrived at the cabin, he rushes in to find the wolf in a food coma on the floor. Using his axe, he slays the wolf, cuts it open, and finds Susie and her grandmother laying inside. When she looks up and sees Paul, she becomes completely enamored. "You saved me! Oh, thank goodness you saved me!" Susie cries and hugs Paul. "Thank you so much!" In all the commotion, the noises echoed out through the woods, and they were overheard by the monk, who was out checking his beehives in a nearby meadow, and he rushed over to investigate. When he arrived at the cabin, he finds Paul standing outside with blood on his hands and Little Red Riding Hood in his arms. "What happened here?" asked the monk. Little Red begins to tell her story, and then turns to Paul. "Isn't he dreamy?" "I suppose," says the monk. "I'm moving in with him. I'm already in love. He saved my life. He would never leave me." "Well, I hope you're right. Hey, by the way, I've been doing some more reading, and I think you would benefit from a treatment called dialectical behavior therapy. It is appearing to be the best treatment that is in most helpful thing for people with borderline personality disorder," explained the monk. "I already told you I'm fine," shouts Susie as she kicks the dirt and heads towards Paul so they can begin their life together. Their relationship started up in smoke after a couple of weeks of passion followed by intense arguments and even physical altercations. But Paul seemed to love her and suggested that she may need to try something to help her not be so volatile all the time. Being that she knew deep down inside she did not feel right, and for fear of Paul abandoning her, she eventually got herself some therapy. She now sits down with a monk 3 days a week and has quit drinking mead. They lived happily ever after. The end.